Alright, welcome back to the channel, everybody. This time around I was going to answer a question I've got for about 20 years now, and that's, are cheap paint guns worth it? Alright, so to answer that question I decided to go on Temu and I purchased 4 different paint guns. Now these just kind of looked pretty good to me. I had no rhyme or reason to pick these up other than that. They all were budget friendly. The most expensive was $98, the cheapest was $50. Now to determine whether or not they were worth buying, I wanted to know whether they sprayed the paint really well, and at the same time I wanted to know how well they will hold up to being cleaned. So I'm trying to run each gun through 10 jobs at a minimum. That means I'm going to clean that gun 30 times. That's because I'm going to use the same gun to spray sealer, base coat, and clear coat, so I can find out what it sprays best and can it spray all 3 of them. And then again, how long is that gun going to last if you want to purchase that gun and you want to use it day in and day out. Now the first gun I was going to use is known as the SK-100, made by AIR GREEN, and unfortunately this gun didn't even make it through the first job. The gun was surging when I was trying to shoot my sealer, and so instantly this gun's out. Nobody wants to buy a gun and have a problem with it as soon as you pull it out the package. Alright, so after that it was going to be time for the Auarita 898-2. And during its first job, after I sprayed the sealer, I realized this gun was shooting high in the pattern, real heavy. And so after cleaning and trying to figure out what was going on with it, I never could solve the problem. So instantly, this gun's out as well. All right, so next up in the bunch is the Auarita K-400. Now you can see this gun here has got a PPS adapter on the top and a regulator on it because I just got through using it. Now this gun here, it is a 1.4. I wish it was a 1.3, but I have been using this thing to shoot sealer and clear coat. I don't quite like the way it shoots base coat. It is more of a conventional style paint gun, so it uses a lot of air. So I'm up around 38 PSI spraying this thing with sealer and with base coat. A little less with sealer, depending on which one it is, but all in all, this gun sprays really good, and it was only $48. All right, so the last gun I want to discuss is the AIR GREEN WZXRP 5200 Basic. Now this one here, obviously, we're ready to shoot some color with. Got some waterborne base in here. It's code 1D6 on a Toyota. Really high metallic. Should really find out how well this gun sprays. Now this will be the 15th job I've sprayed with this gun. I already know it's going to work really well. This one out of all 4, obviously 2 didn't work, but out of the 2 that do work, this one's a great all-around gun. I have no problem spraying sealer. Sealer I've been spraying at 26 to 28 PSI. Base coat, I sprayed waterborne, I sprayed solvent. Both of those around 28 PSI. And even with the waterborne base, if I'm doing my control coat, I'm dropping it down to 22 PSI. I've had no issues out of it. As far as clear coat goes, I bump it on up to about 38 PSI, and I have to get a little tighter to the panel, move a little quicker. But this gun has sprayed everything really, really well. And again, it was only $48 also. So it's really surprised me. Now it did come with an actual plastic cup. I used the PPS system on this thing because I just happened to have an adapter that would fit it. And of course I have a digital regulator on there because I really want to know where my air pressure is as I'm using the gun. So right now I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna finish shooting this Toyota. I've got a front bumper that's gonna be the 1D6. We've got a lower accent that is the darker color. And then of course we've got 2 fenders we're gonna be blending. right, so now you've seen these things spray. I'm gonna do a quick little recap. This here was the Auarita K-400. It's a 1.4. Now I'm spraying about everything out of this gun in the mid to high 30s, typically around 38 PSI. I did turn the fluid knob in about 2 to 3 turns, depending on whether it was the base or the sealer. When I was using the gun, because it's a 1.4, a lot of times I'm shooting waterborne, and I don't want to put a lot of waterborne on the panel because it takes longer to dry. So cut a little fluid out of it. But all in all, this is a really good gun. I don't prefer it for base, but sealer and clear coat works really, really well. All right, so lastly, we've got the AIR GREEN WZXRP 5200 basic. Now, this thing is supposed to be a 1.3. It doesn't say it anywhere on the cap, underneath on the needle, the nozzle. Nowhere does it say 1.3 except for where I purchased it. It's the only place it said, even in the little pamphlet that came with it, which wasn't much. And one thing I do want to point out is you'll notice there's a dimple on that fan control right there where I had to mark it because there was no markings. And on the fluid control here, I did the same thing, so I knew where I was. Now, like I say, I was spraying my base coat around 26 to 28 PSI, and I'd usually turn my fluid in 1/2 of a turn. This is a really, really coarse thread on the fluid control, so 1/2 a turn's a good little bit. When I was doing clear coat, I would go up to 38 PSI, and I would kick the fan in 1/4 of a turn, and I'd run the fluid fully open. Other than that, you know, control coat for waterborne, I'd shoot at 22 PSI, still with a heavy 80–90% overlap and increase in my distance. But as you can see, man, this is a silver, and it lays it down great, blends it really well. So, you know, really, really good gun for $48. Now, I'll put in the description all 4 guns so you know which 2 that I had trouble with. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna have the luck I did. Maybe those 2 guns will work if you purchase them. But one of those guns was $98 and it was junk right out the box. The 2 here, the K400 and this WZXRP, both of these were 48 bucks a piece. So, you know, I feel like I've already got my money out of this one. So hopefully you learned a little something. If you did, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and tap that bell, and I'll catch you on the next one.